So yeah, we got MP5s in California before GTA 6. Now, unfortunately, this is one of the worst and also one of the most fun guns you can own in California right now. And as much as I'm going to shit on this MP5 clone, because that's what it is, because technically in California, we're not allowed to own the original MP5 made by H&K. Doesn't matter if you make it fully compliant, it's literally banned by name. But this right here is a Zenith ZF5. And the fact that I get to own and train with a clone replica of the original MP5 in the state of California legally is something I would have never imagined possible. So before we get into the gun, I'll quickly cover how I got this gun legally in the first place, because I'm guessing that's going to be, one of the most asked questions. At least it was for me when I first saw this thing. Now, I'm going to do my best to explain the legality of owning this gun, but just a heads up, I'm not a lawyer or anything, and nothing I say here should be taken as legal advice. I'm just sharing what I've learned through my own experience. So, if you're familiar with how single-shot extend pistols work in California, then the process for getting this gun is pretty similar. It all starts with finding a gunsmith in your area who's able to build single-shot extend pistols, which as of right now, I personally only know 2 gunsmiths in the SoCal area who are building these specific single-shot MP5s. I'm pretty sure there's more out there, but these are the only 2 I've worked with and know of that currently have them available. Now, since YouTube doesn't allow me to link websites related to gun products, feel free to DM me on my Instagram and I'll gladly send you their website for you guys to check out. Now, from what I've seen, gunsmiths are only building these in limited batches, which is one reason you don't see a lot of people with them. The other reason, I'll get into that later in the video, but back to the process. Once you find a gunsmith who is building these, the gun is sold to you in single shot configuration. That's because the California handgun roster, which prevents any semi-automatic pistol not on that list from being sold through an FFL. Now, this is where you have to make a personal choice. After it's legally transferred to you as a single shot pistol, you could either keep it that way permanently or convert it back to semi. Now, if you choose to go the semi route, you need to be extremely careful, because without the right features, you could now be in possession of what California considers an assault weapon, whatever the fuck that means. So, to stay compliant, the key is keeping it mag locked. That means the only way to remove or insert a magazine is by separating the upper and lower receiver. Now, because this is a whole different platform from AR-15s, that usually when you have the mag lock, you can just hit the Juggernaut Hellfire, which is a little button that splits the upper and lower receiver. This particular setup is more of a pain in the ass, because you have to do everything manually. So to drop the magazine, you need to remove this little rear pin. Once that's out, you can slide the back plate just enough to split the upper and lower receiver. From there, you can use your magazine release like normal to remove or insert magazines. Yeah, this is probably the most annoying part of owning this gun for now, but hopefully someone eventually comes up with a better, takedown pin system, because right now this shit is wild. Now, of course, we're not done yet, because when owning this gun, you're stuck using only 10-round magazines, which, yes, means you're gonna have to do a lot of this. Okay, but enough with the California compliant bullshit. Let's talk about what makes this gun so much fun. This thing is chambered in 9mm. Which is pretty badass. Now, I've heard people complain about issues, like failure to feed or eject, which personally I haven't had any of those issues, and I'm running 115 grain Fiocchi ammo. Now, technically you're supposed to run heavier grain ammo, but honestly, fuck that. This gun's been running great for me, and because it's chambered in 9mm, there's hardly any recoil. Feels like I'm shooting a 22, which not only makes it fun to shoot, but is also super convenient for training.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Since 9mm is way more affordable than any other caliber worth training with. But that said, since you are stuck with 10-round magazines, I personally wouldn't recommend this as a home defense weapon. I think you're better off going with a full-size handgun and running standard Freedom Week magazines, in my opinion. Which honestly I'm totally fine with, since this was never meant to be a firearm I'd rely on the case of emergency, because that's not what I got in the first place. Outside of training, because yes, training was a big reason I picked this up. mainly to get more hands-on experience with different platforms that in this case I plan to make more practical and convenient for training. So I am thinking about adding a top rail, mounting a red dot, maybe throwing on a handrail to add a hand stop, because as it stands right now, yeah, it looks awesome, but let's be real, these iron sights can only take you so far. So I'll definitely make a future video to go over the upgrades I've made. So if that's something you're interested, be sure to stick around. Now, outside of this just being a fun range toy, one of the biggest reasons I was willing to spend the kind of money these things are going for is nostalgia. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm a huge nerd. Now, not so much recently, but back in middle school and into high school, most of my life was spent behind a monitor playing a game that probably a lot of you have played, Call of Duty, which introduced me to a bunch of firearms, including one of the most recognizable, the MP5, specifically the one from COD 4. Now, I'm not that old, so I didn't get to experience the original COD 4, but I did get to spend a lot of time playing the campaign and the remastered version online, where you're constantly seeing the MP5 being used, which there was just something about the tactical uniforms with a gas mask paired with the MP5 that when I was younger looked so badass to me, which that's actually what inspired the whole fit I'm wearing in this video. So yeah, this gun carries a lot of nostalgia for me. It reminds me of a simpler time coming home from school, hopping on a game, and spending hours playing with friends from school and people I met online. Alright, enough crying. Well, actually you might cry again, because now let's talk about the price. This thing is not cheap. Now, of course, thanks to you guys, I am fortunate enough to afford guns like this to review and train with, which I really do appreciate all the support and you guys watching the videos, but this is probably still one of the most expensive guns I've bought so far. You're looking at well over $2,300. Now, here's what I'd say. If the nostalgia factor and the classic MP5 look aren't what draw you in, and you're just after something compact and easy to carry, then you might want to reconsider. Don't get me wrong, this thing is tiny without a brace. It could easily fit in a backpack. Just keep in mind, legally in California, you can't carry it around in public or put it as a CCW. Trust me, I tried. Now, for the kind of money this gun is going for, you could easily build something tailored exactly to your needs. What I'd actually recommend, if you're not dead set on owning an MP5 clone, is building something custom like a single shot pistol. The reason for that is once you get that lower registered as a pistol, you can now legally use any upper length as long as it's under 16 inches, giving you a lot more flexibility to put together an AR pistol that's compact, practical, with features like the Hellfire kit to make reloading and training much more faster and convenient. Just a quick comparison, here's my 7.5 AR pistol next to Zenith. Not bad. Now, of course, this is just an alternative if you're not looking to drop over $2,000 on an MP5 clone and just want something compact. But if your goal is to get something as close as to the original MP5 legally in California that's not chambered in 22, this is probably the closest thing you're going to get to. So that's all I gotta say. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe. Also, if you're interested in seeing some CCW drills, make sure to check out my Instagram at Shadow the Wicked. Also, if you want to get in contact with me, that's a great place. But other than that, hope you guys have a good weekend. Stay safe and God bless.